all we have covered in our previous session. So here we go, children. In our previous session, we learnt about the origin of Mughals. Do you remember, children, where the Mughals have come from? Yes, actually they are from Uzbekistan and Mongolia, and from Kabul they came to India, and finally they defeated Sultan Ibrahim Lodi and captured New Delhi, and from there they started establishing their empire. And then we learnt about some important Mughal rulers, that is starting from Babur to Aurangzeb, and then we learnt about their achievements and contributions, and we also learnt about how they have established and expanded their empire in India. Then by the time they came to India, already some rulers were ruling our country. By the time they came to India, already some rulers were ruling our country. So after coming to India, they have maintained some really good relationship with the kings that were already ruling, either by defeating them, but in spite of defeating them, they did not imprison them. Instead of that, they allowed them to continue as a king, but they were not supposed to take their own decisions, and the major decisions were taken by Mughal emperors. And with some kings, they had matrimonial alliances. That means they married their daughters, and many of Rajput daughters were made as a Mughal queens. And finally, we learnt about their administrative system of Mansabdari system and Jagirdari. Mansabdars were the officials of Mughal emperors. They were taking care of the area which was allotted to them, and Jagirdars were collecting the taxes on behalf of Mansabdars, and that they were handing it over to the Mughal emperors. So till here we completed in our previous session. Now we will be completing the remaining part of the lesson. So children, shall we begin our today's session? So here we go. In our today's session, the first concept is about Zabt and Zamindar. Here, children, the main source of income for the Mughal emperors was through the peasantry. That means they were collecting the taxes from the farmers in the forms of the crop that was cultivated by them. But during the regime of Akbar, there was a revenue minister, and his name was Todarmal. Todarmal carried out the survey of the crop that is yield in a particular area, yield in sense that is grown in the particular area, and even he find out about the prices at which the crops are sold, and the area that is cultivated for the 10 years, for the period of 10 years, that is from 1570 to 1580 Common Era. Based upon the survey which was carried out by Todarmal, he fixed up the taxes, and he started collecting the taxes in the form of the cash. Previously it was paid in the form of the crops and the material grown, but now they have started collecting the taxes in the form of the cash. And they divided the whole kingdom into the provinces, and each province was divided into the revenue circle based upon their own revenue rates. That means depending upon the crops grown, depending upon the prices at which it is sold, and depending upon the quality, they have started collecting the taxes. This system of conducting the survey was taken up by Todarmal in almost all the places which was covered by the Mughal Empire, except two places, that is Gujarat and Bengal. In Gujarat and Bengal, this survey system was not possible. Other than that, everywhere this Zabt system was continued. In most places, these taxes was collected by the village headman or the chieftains. That means there will be one rich person or a rich landlord in the area, and he was taken up as a headman. So he used to collect the taxes on behalf of the Mughal emperor. The Mughal emperor used to call them as Zamindars. And these Zamindar post was a hereditary one. That means if the father dies, the son will continue, and likewise. Mansabdari system was not the hereditary one, but the Zamindari system was a hereditary one, because this is the post which was elected by the people. These zamindars used to maintain their own contingent army. That means they used to have their armed followers who helped them in collecting the taxes. Now you will be wondering, children, why they were doing it on behalf of the Mughal emperors. Yes, am I right? Yes, they were doing it on behalf of the Mughal emperors as they were receiving their share of the revenue which was collected from that particular area. And at the same time, they were acting as a local representative. That means the people cannot directly reach the emperor. Similarly, emperor will not be also able to listen to their subjects. So here, these zamindar will act as a bridge in between the people and the Mughal emperors. So likewise, he will be sorting out all the problems between the people and the Mughal emperors. Now these zamindars have become so powerful that the people have started following them only, and they were following up the orders which is given by zamindars. Sometimes they were so powerful that they made the peasants rebel against Mughals. That means if the Mughal is trying to exploit the zamindar or that particular area or the peasants of that area, these people were so powerful that they challenged the stability of Mughal empire. So this was all about zamindars. Now children, do you remember the young Mughal emperor who became the king at the age of 13? Yes, he was Akbar. Now let us have a closer look at Akbar's policies. Akbar was having 9 gems in his court, and among those 9 gems there was a person who was called as Abul Fazl. Abul Fazl wrote a book related to the life of Akbar, and the name of that book is Akbarnama. In Akbarnama, he elaborately discussed the administrative features of Akbar. While Akbar was in Fatehpur Sikri, that is near Agra, he used to keep up the meetings with the different religion people. Different religious heads. That is like Muslim scholars, Hindu scholars, Jesuits or the Roman Catholic priest, and even Zoroastrians. And he was so interested to find out about the religions and customs of these religion through these religious heads. The main idea of Akbar is to bring all these people under one umbrella. That means he wanted to unite the people of diverse faiths. So with this idea, he has started one religion which is called as Sul-Hi-Kul, or we can call it in our English language as a universal peace. And according to Sul-Hi-Kul, there will be no discrimination among the people on the ground of their social status or religion. Instead of that, they will be focusing only on the universally applicable ethics, that is honesty, justice and peace. And for designing this Sul-Hi-Kul, it was Abul Fazl, I told you, one of the gem of Akbar's court. He was helping Akbar in framing a vision of governance around these idea of Sul-Hi-Kul. And according to that, the emperor would work for the welfare of all the subjects irrespective of their religion or social status. As I told you in the previous slide, children, there will be no discrimination among the people. Even the king will treat all the people equally. And this idea of Sul-Hi-Kul was followed by Jahangir and Shah Jahan, and even it was followed by Aurangzeb. But by the time the administration came into the hands of Aurangzeb, the idea of no discrimination which was followed in Sul-Hi-Kul was deviated, because Aurangzeb tried to give more favor only to the Sunni Muslims. So this has made the people very angry. Now children, let us learn about the Mughal Empire in the 17th century and thereafter. You know children, Mughal people have come from a foreign and a distant land, and they were able to expand their empire in India only because of their administrative efficiency and because of their military efficiency. So when Mughals were ruling our country, many travelers came to India. And when they came to India, they wrote a good fables and beautiful stories about our glorious country. But at the same time, they bring into the light the glaring inequalities which was prevailing during this period. Documents from the 20th century of Shah Jahan's reign inform that out of 8,000 mansabdars, only 445 mansabdars were existing. That is only 5.6%. And the revenue which was collected by these mansabdar was only 61.5%. That was, it was sufficient only to pay their salaries and the salaries of their troops. Now you will be wondering why so much of downfall in the revenues have come around. Yes children, so let us have a look about the downfall in the collection of the revenues. Most of the income or most of the revenue which was collected was spent on the salaries and goods. That means British people and their nobles always wanted to lead a very lavish life. They wanted a very grand lifestyle, and they were so selfish that they were only thinking about themselves, and they totally ignored the developmental activities. Now to collect the taxes, it is compulsory that the production has to be increased. And if you want to increase the production, the investment has to be made for the primary producers. Primary producers in sense peasants, carpenters, artisans, etc. That means some amount has to be provided to them so that they can make some items or they can produce some goods. And only if the production is increased, more revenue can be collected. But here what happened? There was a very less investment for the primary producer. And because of that, there was a less existence of the resources to increase the productivity. So there came a span during the Mughal Empire that the rich people were becoming richer and poor has started becoming poorer. So most of the importance was only given to the wealthy people and poor people were totally ignored. The wealth and the resources which was mainly commanded by the Mughal nobles has made them so powerful that in some areas of the Mughal Empire they declared themselves as an independent king. Among those areas comes Awadh and Hyderabad. In these two areas, the people have started establishing their separate and individual political identities. Though they were respecting Mughal emperors as their masters, but all the major decisions were taken by them without knowing it to the Mughal emperors. And this has made them so powerful that in future they started ruling these areas. Now when this was happening, there was a person in Telangana and he started helping the poor and the downtrodden people, and this was all happening during the rule of Aurangzeb, and that leader was none other than Sardar Sarvai Papanna. Papanna occupied the Telangana area from Mughal rule between 1687 to 1724 Common Era, and he built a fort in Khilashpur, which was the Warangal capital in those days. Knowing about the operations and atrocities which was taken up by Mughal Empire on the people, he has started raising his own army and he trained his army in guerrilla attacks. Papanna controlled the forts of Bhuvangiri, Kolanapaku of Nalgonda, Thatikonda, Cheryala of Warangal, Huzurabad and Husnabad of Karimnagar district. He constructed his fort in Sarvaipeta with the aim of expanding his empire. He also constructed some forts in Thatikonda, Vemulakonda and Shahapuram. During his regime, he has constructed one check dam for the increase of the agricultural production. So from this we can make out that he was an developmental oriented king. And for raising the money to maintain his army, he used to do guerrilla attacks on subedars, zamindars and landlords. Upon knowing about Papanna's popularity, Aurangzeb was so worried that he asked Rustam Dil Khan to go and suppress him. Rustam Dil Khan in return asked Qasim Khan to go and fight with Papanna and conquer Shahpura fort. But Qasim Khan was killed during the war, and finally it was Rustam Dil Khan who has to enter the war, and it went on for almost 3 months. Rustam Dil Khan finally fled from the war, and in this war Papanna lost his friend and close associate Sarvanna in this war. After the death of Aurangzeb in 1707 Common Era, Subedar Kambaksh Khan started losing control in Deccan. On knowing this, Sardar Sarvai Papanna attacked Warangal on April 1 in 1708 Common Era. However, in a long battle of Tatikonda, which was later continued at Khilashpur, he escaped. Finally, he was captured in 1712 Common Era and he was beheaded. So this was all about a leader who really tried to help the downtrodden and the backward people of Telangana during the Mughal Empire. There were some nobles who has become very powerful and they started declaring themselves as an independent king. Among those nobles was Asaf Jahis. Asaf Jahis were controlling Hyderabad, and later they declared themselves as a king, and their period of ruling Hyderabad was from 1724 to 1948 Common Era. After the decline of the Mughal Empire, the governors of Mughal emperors started asserting their independence during 1720s. Among those governors, there was one person and his name was Chin Kulich Khan. He was also known as Nizam ul Mulk, and this Nizam ul Mulk is the founder of the Asaf Jahi dynasty of the Hyderabad state in 1724. He ruled for 24 years, that is from 1724 to 1748. Talking about the Asaf Jahi dynasties, there were total 10 kings, and out of the 10, the 7 were entitled as Nizam, except the 3, that is Nasar Jung, Muzaffar Jung and Salabat Jung. Children, this timeline chart is very much important from your examination point of view. The Nizams constantly fought with Marathas and rulers of Mysore to carve the independent state of Hyderabad. And while waging the wars with Marathas and rulers of Mysore, they started taking help of British people. So slowly these British people were becoming very closely associated with Nizams. And because of their close association with Nizams, you can find a colonial modernization in Hyderabad state. In the present times also, children, you can find some very beautiful buildings which was made during the colonial modernization. Even British people were very much interested in our Hyderabad culture. During the late 19th century, Hyderabad embarked on the process of development, and Salar Jung, who was the Prime Minister of Nizams between 1853 and 1883, has imbibed a lot of colonial developmental schemes. The 6th Nizam, that is Mir Mehboob Ali Khan, was marked with a number of reforms. That means he has taken up a lot of developmental activities in Hyderabad. The famous Asafia Library, which is located in Afzalganj, is constructed by 6th Nizam, that is Mir Mehboob Ali Khan. Even he started Victoria Memorial Orphanage and a famous girls for school, that is Mehboobiya. During the Musi floods in 1908, he personally supervised the relief operations, offered prayers to God, and even he provided shelter to the victim. After his downfall came the 7th Nizam, and his name is Mir Usman Ali Khan. He tried to protect the feudal power structure in spite of the liberal administrative reforms that was taking place under the idea of the national movements. He wanted to maintain his own feudal structure, but whereas a national movement has already started in India and everybody wanted freedom, that is from Britishers and even from the kings and even from the Nizam rules. Regarding this, children, we will be learning further and in detail in our 8th class. So children, I hope our today's session is clear to you? So shall we have a quick recapitulation of our today's session? In our today's session, children, we learnt about the importance of zamindars and their role during the Mughal rule. Even we had a closer look at Akbar's administrative policies, how he tried to bring the people of diverse faith under one religion, that is called Sulh-e-Kul. Then we learnt about the reasons for the downfall of the Mughal Empire. We learnt about the brave leader of Telangana, that is Sardar Sarvai Papanna. We also learnt about the rise of the Asaf Jahi dynasty in Hyderabad and their administration and the developmental activities that was taken up by Asaf Jahi dynasty. So, is the lesson clear to you, children? Now here comes your assignment. Children, I will be giving you some questions. Please note down the questions in your notes and get it signed by your teacher. So here are your questions. You have to differentiate between the Mansabdar and Zamindar. Mansabdar is the officer who was appointed by Mughal emperor, and Zamindar was a local headman. So you all know the differences. So please make a box and write the differences. Then we learnt about the qualities of Akbar. That is how he was very democratic. He gave importance to all the religion. He tried to understand about the different religion and all we learned, children. So here you will be writing about that. Then you have to write down the reasons for the downfall of the Mughal Empire. That is how the resources were exploited because of the lavish lifestyle of the nobles and how the poor people were ignored. So children, I hope our today's session is clear to you. You please go through the lesson once again using your textbook. So shall we have a quick recapitulation of our today's session, children? So here we go. In our today's session, children, we learned about the importance of zamindars and their role during the Mughal rule. Children, here you have to be very clear between the zamindars and mansabdars. Mansabdars were the officials who were appointed under the Mughal rule to take care of the particular area, and they were collecting the taxes from the other areas, not from the area where they were appointed. It was Jagirdars who were collecting the taxes on behalf of Mansabdars, and they were handing it over to Mughal emperors. And for collecting these taxes, there were some local headmen, and they were zamindars. So these zamindars were helping Mansabdars and Jagirdars in the collection of taxes, and in return they were getting some revenue. Children, Mansabdars and Jagirdars used to get salaries, and zamindars used to get the share in the revenue which was collected from the area. And these people were the local representative between the Mughal emperor and the people of that particular area. Children, you have to make a difference box. You have to make it in a tabular form, and please try to write down the differences in the tabular form. Then we learnt about a closer look at Akbar's administrative policies. Here we also learnt about the survey that was taken up by his revenue minister, that is Todarmal. They tried to make the survey of the area, and they tried to collect the taxes in the form of the cash instead of in the form of the material or gifts. At the same time, Akbar was a very secular king, and he was very much interested in knowing about the different religion and their customs and traditions. And at the same time, he wanted to bring the diverse faith under one umbrella. So with that idea, he started a new religion which is called as Sulh-e-Kul, that is universal peace. And according to Sulh-e-Kul, there will be no discrimination in between the people of any caste or religion. The people will not be differentiated on the basis of their social status as well. That means all the people will be taken care equally by the king, and he will be mostly concentrating upon the welfare of the people. Then we learnt about the reasons for the downfall of the Mughal Empire. As I told you, there were total 8,000 mansabdars and which has come down to 445, and the revenue which was collected has also come down, and the revenue which was collected was mostly spent on the salaries of these mansabdars and these troopers. These people were mainly interested in leading a very lavish lifestyle, and because of that they totally ignored the productive side and even the poor people, who were the main reason for increasing the production. So during the regime, only the wealthy people were benefited and the poor people were totally ignored. So that was also one of the reasons of the Mughal Empire. For more reasons, children, please refer the textbook. Then we learnt about a brave leader, Sardar Sarvai Papanna, how he tried to help the backward and the downtrodden people of Telangana region from Mughal people and their atrocities and operations. How he raised his own army, how he trained his army in guerrilla attacks, and how they were taking care about the developmental activities. They even gave a lot of importance for the increase in the agricultural production. And finally, how they waged wars with the Mughal emperors bravely without getting scared of them. But finally, he was killed, and we learnt about him as well. And then we learnt about the rise of the Asafjahi dynasty. Asafjahi dynasty was started by Nizamul Mulk. He was one of the governor of the Mughal emperors, and he was given the charge of Deccan, that is Hyderabad. After the decline of Mughal Empire, he himself declared as a king of Deccan and started ruling Deccan. And there were total 10 rulers of this Nizamul Mulk, and all of them has taken up a lot of administrative and developmental activities in Hyderabad. But at the same time, they were also the reason for bringing the colonial modernization in Hyderabad. So children, I hope this session is very much clear. So I will be giving you some assignment, children. Under this assignment, you will be given some questions. First question is differentiate between the Mansabdar and Zamindar. Then we learnt about the qualities of Akbar that made him a great king. Here we discussed about the survey that was taken up under his regime by his revenue minister Todarmal, and even we learnt about the establishment of a new religion, that is Sulhi-Kul, wherein all the people will be treated equally without any discrimination. Then we learnt about the reasons for the downfall of the Mughal Empire. That means Mansabdars were decreasing, revenue area was decreasing, revenue collected from the area was decreasing, but the amount which was collected from the revenues was spent on all the things rather than the developmental activities. That means the nobles and the kings were very much interested in leading a lavish life, and that was one of the reasons for the downfall of the Mughal Empire. Even I have explained you about the 10 Asafjah rulers. Among those 10 Asafjah rulers, only 9 was entitled as Nizam, and except the 3. Regarding that, we have already discussed in our today's class. So I think you can answer all these questions, children. You can take the help of the textbook while answering the questions. Even you can do it under the guidance of your teacher. Please complete the notes and get it signed by your teacher. For the better understanding of the concept, children, please try to solve the worksheets which is produced by SIET. You can procure this worksheet by visiting the official website of SIET. So children, I hope all of you have copied the questions. Please complete the answers of the given questions. Try to solve the worksheets which is published by SIET. Read the lesson once again, and here I take your leave. Thank you.